What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be chatting about something that's actually affecting the country that we live in, very much so right now. So, we'll be kind of chatting about money in politics.
Yeah, facts. So, I mean, a lot, as all of us know, as the American people, our interests and the things that we want, the things we care about, the things we poll about, aren't typically actually done in Congress by our administration, by the president. And we always sit here wondering, well, what are our tax dollars actually doing when they're not actually working for us? So, it begs the question of what's happening in our political system. And I think it's a pretty, maybe not clear for some people, but pretty clear to us what's happening. It's that our political system is being corrupted by investments that are going to politicians. So these are payments from foreign governments, payments from private interest groups, lobbyists, from companies.
Yep.
All of these people are essentially influencing, in a way, buying American politics. And the only people that get the short end of the stick are the American people.
Yes, because when you're receiving money from other entities, other, countries, companies, lobbyists, whatever,
Yeah.
you're obviously not thinking for the American people.
Yeah.
You don't have the interests of your actual constituents in mind.
Exactly.
You're just thinking about your wallet and your money that you got coming in.
Exactly, which is just verbatim, clear as day corruption, right? We cannot
Yes.
have politicians that receive money from companies, private interest groups, APAC, or anybody else. If they are receiving those sorts of payments, they automatically do not have their constituents' best interest at heart. That is a fact. You cannot be being a paid off politician and think that we're going to believe that you're actually here to benefit the American people. It's impossible.
No, it's so impossible.
Yeah.
You're right. Because it's just like, how can they get anything done?
Yeah.
People are going to be asking for things, and if it doesn't align with their whoever's in their pockets, whoever's giving them money,
Yep.
they're not going to do it. They're
And
not
we
going to do
have
it.
tons of evidence of this, right? We can look at the United States, why we don't have any sort of public subsidized healthcare system, right? A large part of that is because healthcare companies, pharmaceutical companies, they lobby our government and pay our governmental officials millions of dollars to make sure they do not pass legislation that would result in Americans getting healthcare. That's why we don't have healthcare. It is quite literally corruption from companies paying our elected officials to make sure we do not get the services that we are asking for as the American people.
Yeah.
That's insane. And that's healthcare as one example. The same could be said about oil, right? Our lack of infrastructure in the United States. Why is that? Because the big oil companies are lobbying our government, aka paying our government officials bribe money to make sure that our government officials kill any infrastructure projects that would boost train infrastructure or boost anything other than cars.
Yeah.
That is corruption in our government.
100%. I mean, a whole other example, gun laws.
Yes.
Gun laws, because again, the NRA, the other
The NRA spends millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on our elections and our elected officials.
Yep.
Over 70% of Americans all agree that we need common sense gun laws to bring down the amount of mass shootings in our country. We have the most mass shootings in the developed world. And that is why 70% of Americans agree we need new gun laws. And yet, no new gun laws are passed at any point.
Why is that?
Because the NRA got that money.
Yep.
That is corruption. That is corruption. That is clear as day an example of our elected officials not serving their constituents because they are getting paid by a corporation.
That's so backwards.
It's
so backwards.
It's baffling.
Politicians should not be going into politics, should not be trying to represent people if they're just trying to line their pockets.
Facts.
That should not be your reasoning for going into politics. Facts. I mean, we look at someone like Zohran Mamdani.
Yep.
And look at what he's doing. He's
Yep.
setting the standard for what politicians should look like. He isn't accepting bribe money. He isn't accepting a lot of the, I don't know what words I can or can't say here, but but he is very much against a lot of the war and everything that is happening right now, and he's outwardly against it, and that is what we want to see
from our elected
politicians.
officials.
Absolutely.
Right? And Zoran balanced the budget. He's extending social programs, extending childcare, extending affordable housing, putting in a rent freeze, bringing down the prices of public transportation, trains, and for buses in New York City, opening up subsidized grocery stores to address the food desert problem.
Yep.
Those are the sorts of things that a politician who is working for his constituents, those are the sorts of things they get done. If politicians wanted to, they could. Another great example of this is the governor of Virginia.
Mhm.
She is actively getting done everything that she ran on, of course, a Democrat. And she is actively working on education, working on rights. She legalized marijuana recreationally. She is moving the ball forward because that is what she promised her constituents on the election campaign.
Yes.
And she is fulfilling those. So those are examples of politicians who are putting their own personal interests aside, not trying to become wealthy off of politics, and instead they are being the civil servants that they are meant to be by their position.
That they signed up for.
That's what you signed up for. Civil service, not a chance to become a multimillionaire. It is corruption.
100%.
Every politician that receives money from a corporation, private interest group, lobby, AIPAC, you are corrupt. You do not serve the American people. You are a dog for a corporation. That's what you are. But you are not an employee of the American people.
No.
And with that being said, I personally believe all elected officials in the United States should be making the federal minimum wage.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
The federal minimum wage.
And why do you feel that way?
Because you are an elected official that works for our government and therefore should make the standardized government wage, which is whatever it is.
$7.25, I
Yeah,
believe.
garbage.
Unless it's gone up.
But I
since
guarantee you, if the people in the houses of Congress were forced to endure the same benefits that the average American worker has, i.e. no paid time off, no maternity, no paternity leave,
medical.
no very limited medical coverage, depending on what sort of role you have, right? If they were forced to live under those standards, they wouldn't accept it. We would see how fast the federal minimum wage would go up. We would see how fast benefits would go up.
Yeah.
We would see all of these changes happen if they were forced to live like the average American. And that's why we need to institute it.
100%.
If you receive any of the money, you lose your position immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Immediate re-election to replace you.
I mean, that's exactly how it should go. Because if you're accepting money from outside interests, again, it's corrupt.
Yep.
You're literally corrupt at that point.
Right.
And you also just genuinely do not have what it takes to serve the people.
And here's just another clear example. If you get pulled over by a police officer, right? And the officer is about to write you a ticket, and you say to the officer, "Hey, officer, I'll give you $100 if you let me slide right now." And that officer says, "All right, give me the cash," and then lets you go. That is bribery. You will literally go to jail for that in the United States.
Yep.
So tell me how a corporation can go up to a politician and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 if you make sure this bill doesn't pass." And the politician goes, "All right, perfect. Give me the money." And then the bill doesn't pass.
That is illegal.
It's illegal.
That's
it is
illegal.
the exact same thing. So one can line a normal person like us in jail, and the other one makes politicians multimillionaires.
Make it make sense.
And that's okay.
That is such a good example. That's literally like the best way to put it, to just like I'm like, yeah, hearing that, obviously illegal.
Has to
You're not allowed to do that.
Do that.
That is not, you literally hear about that happening in other countries and people be like, "Oh yeah, their police is bought and paid for, blah, blah, blah." But it's like, our politicians are bought and paid for.
Exact same thing.
That's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So don't frown on another country for something like that happening when that's rampant in our country.
The difference is, in China, they execute their corrupt politicians. That's the difference. The last politician in China that was caught embezzling hundreds of thousands of government funds from people's taxes, they executed him. So that shows the difference. Our politicians get a free pass to do whatever the fuck they want, in other developed nations, there are severe consequences for corruption.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm not saying we need to off politicians for corruption, but what I am saying is you should not be able to hold office now or ever again if you've received a payment from a private interest group, company, or APAC at any point in your political career.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Fully agree with you. That should just be immediately grounds for losing your position. And also just, I mean, if that was happening,
Yeah,
it would scare other politicians out of doing that same thing.
exactly.
That's what we
We
need.
just need one example.
We just need one example of someone who gets fired, not only let go from their position, but put in prison or fined millions of dollars
Yeah,
for accepting bribery money from lobbyists, corporations, private interests, other
Exactly.
countries, anything like that.
exactly.
Because there's just no room for that
No.
in that role. There is no room for that.
Facts.
It's ridiculous.
Facts. And you know, Wales actually put in place a very, I think, ingenious law, which essentially makes it illegal for politicians to lie during their campaign. So if a politician lies during their campaign, they not only are automatically removed from that election, but they can also face jail time.
I was going to ask
I
if you knew what
think
the
that's
consequences
brilliant.
were. Yeah.
That is brilliant. That should be instituted everywhere, especially here in the United States. If a politician is lying on the campaign trail, lying to the American people's faces, lying about what they're going to do to quote unquote fix our country, and don't do any of that, or are just straight up lying about the facts or anything regarding that, boom, out of there. Automatically.
Bye.
Automatically. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, politicians, they might as well be
Actors.
They lie through their teeth every day. I mean, this administration is the perfect example of it. They literally lie about everything. The Iran conflict has ended 45 times. Those are examples of lies. The Pentagon and Pete Hegseth hid how many American soldiers were injured and died in this Iran conflict. That is lies. Anytime economy numbers come out and the jobs come out, they try and turn it and blame it on Biden when we all know it's because of Trump's tariffs and this war. Lies, lies, lies. The Epstein files have still not been released to the public. It's been over 100 days since they were legally told to release the Epstein files. Still no files released.
Because they were the administration of transparency, right?
And all they do is lie. So if that law from Wales was instituted in the United States, you're talking about an entire political administration would be removed from office. A full sweep.
We need that, though.
We need that.
Honestly, that would be amazing.
That'd be fantastic.
I just feel like the lies that are being spewed on a daily basis, it's all propaganda, but it's like, it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
So dangerous. I mean, look at how, our country is so divided because of all of those lies that are being spewed and the people believe it.
I mean, my thing is that, like, for me personally, I know that there are a lot of people who somehow voted for this idiot president again, but I actually don't think the American people are that divided as the Republicans try to say. If you look, like, polling numbers state that Americans actually feel the same way when it comes to things like healthcare, infrastructure, gun laws, and foreign wars. Most Americans don't disagree on those core issues, but what they focus on, especially on the right side, is all of those trigger propaganda things.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like the division, because it's those fake, sorts of things, it's like they're more than just politics.
Yeah.
Which I think is where the line gets blurred for some people because they don't understand that. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you want to hit some of our note?
Yes. Well, because one of the things that we were going to talk about was that we kind of talked about this, but we know like billionaires have been pouring millions of dollars into even just this year's election, the midterms.
Yeah, Elon Musk poured over $100 million into Trump's presidential campaign in 2024 and has already guaranteed another $100 million for these midterm elections, specifically for Republicans. That's the important note here, is that the billionaires are primarily donating to Republicans in the midterms.
Hmm.
And I think it's pretty clear why why we think they're doing that. And if you don't know, my thought process behind that is simply because of this current administration, right? Republicans are in charge. We're seeing the president make billions of dollars off of cryptocurrency and other scams. He stole money from Venezuela. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This administration just breeds corruption.
Yeah.
We've seen corporations get shout outs from the president. We've seen corporations that donated to his inauguration get let off from certain investigations that were happening. We saw that happen with Elon Musk's company. You know, there were investigations into SpaceX and their pollution and the way they were degrading the environment. And now, after all of his help with Trump and his campaign, now all of those investigations are gone. So again, the billionaire class, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to influence our elections to make sure they can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. I mean, literally, just even like, what was it? I had seen national parks land
Yep.
getting bulldozed and
Yep.
just cleared out for
Yeah. And if you
mining and
Yeah.
what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, if you didn't know, the Trump administration has sold off hundreds of thousands of acres of national and protected lands across the United States and opened them up for oil and gas mining, like Sid mentioned. So again, that's our public land, national land that's supposed to belong to the people.
National parks. I saw a video in Big Bend National Park of like a bulldozer just clearing out an area.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's insane.
It's
Because
just
that's the one
like-
with the big mountain, right? Or the rock thing. I'm not sure. Sorry to throw that on you. I know you need a national park.
I know. I mean, I go not like that.
But you know, again, it's just another example of big money influencing the things that are happening in our country. These are billionaires, multimillionaires, these corporations that are essentially paying out our government to be able to buy our national land. And then they're now obliterating that national land in order to build oil drilling and data centers and stuff like that. It's just awful. It's terrible.
Loosening all those restrictions, loosening that on endangered species habitats as well. So many bad things that are just
they're just adding up, right?
Yeah.
Like they're removing environmental protections, they're spraying chemicals, they're removing the investigations into cancer causing agents, they're allowing, cancerous chemicals to be sprayed on our food, they're lowering protections at the EPA so that companies don't have to spend as much time or money on quality checking food, which is now making Americans sick because we have all of these outbreaks.
Yeah, and can we just remind everyone that regulations are in place because of things that have happened in the past where, people were taken advantage of, or the lackluster amount of regulations allowed companies to just kind of do whatever. It was like a free-for-all. So regulations were put in place to ensure that those things didn't happen anymore, because when the regulations aren't there, we're seeing it now.
Yeah.
They do whatever they want.
And the thing with regulations, they're just like a sign on a bridge that says, don't jump or no swimming, right? For most of us, we're like, oh, that's pretty obvious. Why the hell would anyone jump from here? The reason the sign is there is because somebody has done that before. And so they put the warning there to make sure people don't continue to do that. Even though it's obvious to some of us, it's not to others.
Exactly.
That is what regulations do for companies. They make sure that companies are not spewing out their carcinogenic outputs into our air, into our water. That is what regulation does. It prevents companies from doing what they've already done before, preventing them from doing it again.
Yep.
So when you're removing environmental protections because the company is paying you, well, now that company is going to save money, but now millions more of Americans are going to be sick from cancerous agents that are now in our air, water, and food.
Yeah.
That is the influence of oligarch money in politics. They have paid to get back these freedoms.
Yeah.
They paid through the inauguration, through supporting the candidacy, through all of these avenues, and now they are reaping the benefits of not having regulation to keep them in check.
Yeah, literally.
That is inherently dangerous for the American people.
100%. I mean, regulations, again, they're there because otherwise people are getting taken advantage of. I mean,
Yeah.
as you were talking, I was thinking of so many other things. I mean, even we were talking about the federal minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's something that's been put in place because otherwise companies wouldn't pay people even that much.
Yep.
You know, and it's like I'm like even thinking of child labor laws.
Yeah.
They were utilizing child labor, so they had to create laws
To
around
prevent
things
that.
to prevent that.
Yeah.
That is the reason why regulations are in place.
Right.
It's not just for fun, it's because they're damaging things and damaging people, and they need to be controlled.
100%, 100%. And just to piggyback off of one thing you were saying there about like the labor laws as well, the reason that companies like Amazon were paying money, Amazon, Meta, Apple, the reason they paid money for Trump's inauguration, right, was because those companies are already paying their American workers, specifically Amazon, poverty wages. And yet Jeff Bezos is one of the richest human beings on the planet. And so there were issues with what's it called when the people with strikes with workers getting together at Amazon and starting to unionize and do those sorts of things. So now Amazon pays the president, and now once again all of that stuff has been squashed. They fired workers, they got rid of workers. And guess what? Most Amazon workers are on government subsidies. So all the money that Jeff Bezos is not spending on paying his workers enough money to survive in our country is coming out of our salary via taxes. That's why he paid for Trump's inauguration. Because the favor is that he doesn't have to pay taxes because Republicans gave billionaires a tax break. So now Jeff Bezos can continue with his extra money he now has to not pay his workers an adequate wage. So that's what Jeff does. That's what Zuck does. That's what Walmart does. They're all doing the same thing. They're taking advantage of our government's corruption to prevent their companies from being regulated in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
That's why Trump's ballroom, that's why they had events with the billionaires, right? No average people like us were there.
No.
It was the tech billionaires, the AI center guys.
Yeah.
That's who they invited to the White House events.
Yeah.
Why do we think that is? We follow the money. That's who's giving them the money.
Exactly. Yes. And like even the data centers, how sneaky they've been with those. I mean, we just got something in the mail the other day in North Carolina talking about a new data center that snuck through and is now being built. So there's another thing, you know.
And how are they doing it? The data centers, the companies that own the data centers are paying off the local politicians. They're paying off the local boards, paying off those people who make those decisions and selling off the land for pennies on the dollar because they don't give a shit about the people who live in their area or the pollution from the data center or the gas turbines they're going to use or the water supply getting tainted. They don't care about those things because they're getting the money.
Exactly.
That is
they
corruption.
Won't be affected.
It is corruption.
Yep.
That is bribery.
Point blank, period. That literally is just like, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
All right, Sid, tell me really quick, how much money have American billionaires poured into elections in our country just in 2026 so far?
Well, according to the Americans for Tax Fairness, a report that was done by them, more than $433 million have been poured into the 2026 midterms.
By billionaires.
So far. And nearly 80 cents of every donated dollar is backing Republicans.
Very interesting. So billionaires who Republicans just gave a massive tax break to give them more money have now spent $430 million in this year alone to influence our elections and to elect more Republicans who will continue to give them tax breaks.
Yeah. So
it's clear as day.
Clear.
Just follow the money. Look what they're doing with it. Imagine if instead we taxed billionaires adequately. That $400 million that they're using to buy our elections could be used to give millions of Americans health care. could be used to create a national train line so that we could actually get around to each other.
Yeah.
Could be used for childcare so that children can have free childcare, since the Trump administration just gutted
Free
Head
lunches.
Start. Free lunches
Like,
for kids, right?
Why
Like
is that
that
criminalized?
those are the types of things that $430 million could go towards if the billionaires weren't using it to buy our elections and Republicans weren't giving them tax breaks to then in turn support them in elections. That money should be going to the American people.
100%.
And clearly billionaires can afford to get taxed higher, because if you can afford to pay out $433 million, I think it's safe to say you got a fair bit of cash laying around that's willing and able to be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
That could be money for the American people.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, because on that same kind of wavelength, the other statistic that we were looking at was the donations from APAC, but I guess this was only for one specific candidate that we were looking at, right?
I only looked up, just because it was the most relevant, the Michigan Democratic primary, in which Abdul El-Sayed was successful in winning his Democratic primary. And the reason I noted that, huge win for Abdul, Dr. Abdul.
Ooh.
Fucking put some respect on his name also.
Don't forget, yourself.
Dr. Abdul won his election after his opponent received $30 million from APAC. And APAC is essentially a foreign country that is paying politicians in our country. Yeah. So after a $30 million donation from a foreign entity again to his rival, Dr. Abdul Sayed was still successful in Michigan.
Yeah. So
just fantastic.
Huge win right there.
But it shows the dangers of the politics, right?
Because surely, well, no, I was just going to say, surely whoever Republican he's running against in the actual midterm elections,
they're going to get that.
They're going to be getting that APAC support, 100%.
And again, well, I'm just saying, like, it highlights why this sort of money should not be allowed in politics. Nobody should be able to spend that much money on a specific candidate trying to get them elected to push the investor's agenda. That is corruption. As soon as a candidate gets a foreign payment like that, it should automatically remove them from chances. Yeah. And we, the American people, have the power to cancel these MFs. If you receive money from APAC, from a private corporation, from any donor, private interest other than your state salary that is paid for by the constituents' taxes, you are corrupt. 100%. And you should not hold office. And the American people should not vote for you.
Absolutely not. I mean, it literally turns our country, our government, into like a government for hire.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to be bought and sold by the highest bidder.
Right.
Because, and that should be so scary for people, because it's not about you. It's not about you or your family. If that's what you care about, you know?
Yeah.
You're not going to be getting any of the benefits from whatever they're getting, you know? You're just going to be getting whatever little things that they're going to put through.
I know.
Most of it's going to hurt you.
Yeah. I mean, if trickle-down economics worked, we wouldn't have a lower class in the United States, right? Because that started over 50 to 60 years ago with Reagan and Reaganomics. So if Republican theory, if your theory was right about trickle-down economics, you guys should have been trickled upon by now. You should have been getting that wet shower
that should have trickled down a long
it's
time
been
ago.
Almost 100 years, and you guys are still sitting there waiting for your daddies to trickle on you. The rest of us live in reality, and we know that nothing is going to trickle down from the billionaire class, because they're sick mentally in the head, which is why the only thing they're willing to spend money on is not, paying into the tax system, which we all use to subsidize their businesses in the first place. But they don't believe in that. They instead only believe in spending their money to continue to live a lawless life without any rules or regulations. And that's why they're spending their money on Republicans, because they know which party will allow them and their businesses to do whatever the hell they want.
Rampant and just do whatever.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
And again, like, I really don't, like, I'm saying that, and I can say it confidently because of what this administration is doing, right? Like, I'm not going to debate anybody about whether or not the Trump administration cares about the environment. when they've rolled back tons of environmental protections when it comes to food, when it comes to preventing wildfires, when it comes to monitoring climate change. Like, you can't tell me an administration that's taking steps like that, backward steps like that, cares about the future of our country, because they're making steps to put Americans' lives in danger right now.
Ridiculous.
And they're doing so because they're following the oligarchs and what they want.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just not about the country, not about the people.
Not about people.
It's about themselves.
Yeah.
It's all just selfish greed.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And so on that point,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about insider trading.
Yeah. Why not? Might as well, right? Yeah. I mean, basically, we'll start at the top, right? Start with what the president does.
Yeah.
So he makes an investment in a company. He's made millions of investments since he took office also. So most presidents are forced to put aside their stocks and personal investments. Not this one. He doesn't give a fuck about any of that because he's a piece of shit and corrupt. But anyway, so what he does is he invests in a company, and then he goes on the news on one of his stupid little channels, and then he goes chatting about that same company that he invested in.
Talking great about it. This is the best company ever.
Right.
You're gonna need you need stock in this company.
Right. And then all of his little investor billionaire friends, they go and influence the market by buying up that stock to give it the false reality of being an inflated price because of the president. When we know most of those companies, it's all just bullshit.
Yeah.
The SP 500 doesn't even represent our economy. It just represents the oligarchs that are playing around with all the money.
Yeah, actually.
But yeah, so that's essentially, one way the president does it. But if we go down to like the Congress level as well, in the exact same way, they are actively making legislation which will influence stock prices. So they'll, lighten a regulation or make it easier for a company to do business. Mm-hmm. They will invest in that company before they sign that legislation. So yeah, they make millions upon millions of dollars by insider trading in that. So for example, if you worked at a company on Wall Street, for example, you have to sign a contract that says you won't insider trade with your insider knowledge. It's illegal for you to do it because you are dealing with those numbers on Wall Street, right? Yeah. So it's illegal for you with your insider insight to make trades and profit off of them. Meanwhile, at the government level, our governmental officials can do that exact thing they told you can't do. They get to make up the law and invest in that company. And so they just make double. They're
just having fun with it. They're just going, they just influence everything. And
they're like, if you have a stock portfolio, find someone in Congress, follow their stocks, and you'll make money.
I know. I have heard about that. People like setting up, I don't know, I think there's a whole app you can use where you like track and have the app use, make trades for you. Anytime a politician, you can be like, all right, mirror this politician's trades, and you can go in and have the app just anytime they make a trade, the app will make that trade for you as well.
There you go.
And I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, I've made so much money doing this. I don't know if it works, but
it's not surprising. Look, go track any of them. It's all public information. They can't hide it. So you can see all of the moves that people in Congress are making, them and their spouses, because again, they're insider that information. So yeah, it's just another sign of clear corruption in our politics, right? Like if a politician is buying stock and is personally invested in a company, they are going to make laws that benefit that company.
Of course.
They're no longer thinking about their constituents, the people who voted them into that position. Corruption
immediately.
It's clear as
day. I mean, there should be
not even an argument.
No like element of politicians investing in stocks.
Nope.
There just shouldn't be any element of that. I mean, shit, I worked as a support person on a financial services company, and I had to sign something where I couldn't insider trade, and I had to report any trade that I wanted to make.
Wow.
Yeah. Dang. So it's like, as a support person, I wasn't even like dealing with the money. I was just had access to things. Right. They were like, no, you can't make trades without letting us know, so that we know whether or not you're doing anything suspicious, So it's like, I had to do that as a support person.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy.
These politicians are running rampant with the ability to just make whatever policies, laws, whatever that will benefit the companies that they're invested in,
Yeah.
just to reap the benefits.
Yeah, and that's something that is bipartisan. Both sides of the aisle are doing that shit. Obviously, the billionaires right now are investing heavily in conservatives because they know that that is the party of corruption, as we all know. But
Yep.
that doesn't mean that Democrats are not also insider trading. We know, like, Nancy Pelosi and her husband have made hundreds of millions of
I
dollars.
think she's the one I saw people tracking
Yeah, the
trades
Pelosi
of.
tracker is a pretty notorious thing. But yeah, so we know that the insider trading, it runs across the aisle. There are dirty people on both sides that are taking these private interests and investing in companies and then making laws to benefit themselves. It's just illegal. It should be illegal. It's not benefiting the American people, clearly. And there's obviously a massive disconnect between what the American people want and what our politicians are doing for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have to ask the question of, where are our tax dollars truly going? Why are my tax dollars paying Elon Musk $4 million a day through government subsidies? I personally think a billionaire doesn't need government subsidies. Aren't Republicans all against government handouts and socialism? Isn't a government
Not when
subsidy,
it comes to the billionaires.
isn't a government subsidy socialism for a billionaire? It's the exact same thing. It's a handout.
You
The
would
richest
think so.
person on the planet doesn't need money from our government. So I hope some people can think about those sorts of things.
That's true.
Because, again, where are our taxes going? Not towards healthcare, not towards infrastructure, not towards social programs, not towards safety nets for people, not towards childcare, not towards meals in school. So where are our taxes going?
I know.
We have to ask the question.
Military, war.
Yeah.
And like you said, subsidizing
the billionaires, the oligarchs.
And other states.
Yeah.
You know,
that's also true.
That's something that
I know. I know. It's actually hysterical to me. People think like Alabama produces anything. It's hysterical. And then the people in Alabama are afraid of cities like New York or like
Los
New York
Angeles,
City. Yeah. They're like terrified of those places
when
because
those are the places
so
funding their lives.
I know, yeah. It's like, bro, the blue states literally subsidize all the red states. So if you didn't know that, again, implore you to go and look into where the money actually comes from in our state, in our country, because without California, without Los Angeles, without New York City, without those massive blue powerhouses, our GDP isn't even top in the world. So just remember that.
Yeah,
so those blue cities you're afraid of, they're the reason that America can boast as the richest country on the planet.
Yeah.
It's because of 2 states. Just so you know.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Biggest
economic powerhouses. So that's just the reality of that. But yeah, I think it is pretty clear that the money in politics, it is corrupting the system. It is corrupting what the American people are getting out of politics. And I think that's why the American people are so angry and so frustrated with our current leadership, but also with, you know, leadership in politics generally, because there's too much foreign and outside money influencing the decisions our politicians are making. And in turn, the American people get the short end of the stick.
It's so true. Yeah. So true. Yeah. People really just like, and I mean, somehow people are okay with it.
Well, I don't know.
That they're not okay with it. I think they're
we just feel powerless. We feel powerless.
Hopeless.
Like, it's just like, what do we do, right? What do we do?
Yeah.
Especially when in
voting
so many.
Doesn't work.
Well, right. Well, it's also tough when in so many like important parts of the country, some people still are voting for the people who keep their states in the position they're in, right? So it's like, you know, states like Florida, states like Texas, states like Ohio, they've been controlled by Republicans for decades, right? So it's like, who are you pointing the finger at? You guys have been in control the whole time. So the issues in Texas with infrastructure, with the laws, well, that's what happens when you elect Republicans for 30 years, right?
It's very regressive policies.
Exactly, that's the reason they're chasing women across the country with flock cameras in Texas, right? They're doing that because they're a backward state because they've been ran by Republicans for 30 plus years.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, so it's like, at the end of the day, voting is important. We know Republicans are actively trying to pass voter suppression laws
That's
across
true.
the country to make it harder for people to vote. And we know the reason they do that is because their policies are largely unpopular with the American public. So they have to essentially cheat to win by making it harder for people to vote.
Yeah, facts.
So we know that that is their strategy. So again, the best way to combat it is just to prove them wrong. Like
Facts.
show up on those days, make sure that Republicans lose every major election coming up. As we know, they're in control of all three branches of our government right now and are therefore responsible for the state of our country, especially in the last 2 years.
Facts.
So there's no really way for them to avoid the responsibility for that. And it's time for Republicans to sack up and take accountability for their shit policies.
Yeah.
Stop blaming Biden. He's not in office and hasn't been for 2 years. It's you guys.
Yeah. I mean, easily. Yeah. Stop blaming other people for the problems that
you've
caused.
created.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely those sorts of things, massively important. We've got to get the corruption. We've got to get all of these private interest lobbying. We've got to remove all of that from politics and bring politics back to just pure serving the people. When you enter politics, you're becoming a civil servant, which means you work for the American people. And it's time for the American people to start firing some of our corrupt civil servants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We need more Mamdanis.
Yes.
100%.
More Mamdanis, more the governor of Virginia, I can't remember her name, but and more Abduls, I mean, that's what we need. We need more people who are going to shake up this political system and truly show what happens when you govern for the people.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we need.
So yeah.
Period.
So those were our thoughts on the influence of money in politics. Massively dangerous and predatory, especially for the American people. But let's fight back. Let's show up at midterms and fight back. That's all we can do.
Yes, absolutely. So if you made it this far,
thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.